In Ethiopia, authorities in Tigray, the northern state, are warning that the area is on the brink of famine. Tigray's Interim President Getachew Reda says at least 90% of the people there are at risk of dying of starvation. He adds that the crisis was the result of the aftermath of the war, which ended just over a year ago, as well as an ongoing drought and the lack of aid. The Ethiopian government in Addis Ababa says the claims are exaggerated. The UN and the US temporarily suspended aid supplies last year following allegations of theft. Now, the interim president, Getachew, is urging both the international community and the Ethiopian government to intervene in Tigray to save lives. DW reporter Million Haileselassie reports from the region.
This is all that 70-year-old Gebremethin Hagos and his family have been able to harvest in recent months, barely enough to survive.
There is famine, we are starving, I'm in crisis. Some days I'm able to find something to eat. Other days I go to bed with an empty stomach. What can we do? Where can we go?
As conditions worsened, his family and many young people left the area, but most of the elderly remained, like Gebremethin. Most of his cattle have died, only a few animals are left. It's the result of 4 years of failed rains, including the worst drought in decades, as well as the devastating war in Ethiopia's Tigray region.
We are farmers who worked our land. When we couldn't do that, we would travel to places where we worked for money. Where can we go now? I'm losing hope. I don't have sheep or cows I can sell. It's bad, isn't it?
The UN's World Food Programme and the US Agency for International Development suspended their humanitarian deliveries earlier this year over a massive corruption scheme in which Ethiopian officials, Tigrayan and Eritrean forces had reportedly looted food aid to sell illegally in the markets. This significantly worsened the situation, with more than 1,400 people starving to death since then. The local administrator in Atsbi district has declared a state of emergency, concerned that 85% of residents have barely any food to eat.
People are dying in front of our eyes. The government and non-governmental organizations have to take responsibility and do what they can to alleviate this suffering.
Now, the UN and US agencies have agreed to resume food aid deliveries with improved monitoring for a year initially. Hopefully, it won't arrive too late, says Gebremethin.
God knows what will come next. If we have His mercy, we will eat. If we don't, we will die. There's not much else we can do.
Despite the short-term relief, people here in Tigray worry that the world might not see their needs as urgent as other crises unfold elsewhere in the world.
I'm now joined by Samuel Getachew. He's a journalist based in Addis Ababa, and he just got back from the Tigray region. Samuel, welcome to the program. Now, what did you see on your trip there? Just tell us just what the situation is like.
So we went outside of Mekelle. We went to a village called Yichla, which had a conflict during the Ethiopian war, affecting thousands of people. I saw people that are really starving, being affected by this famine that's going on across the region. I saw too many people, old people, young people, who have not eaten for days, waiting for any kind of support from international organizations, including USAID and the World Food Programme that delivered some kind of aid a few weeks ago, and they've been waiting. You can tell they have really been struggling for many, perhaps months.
You mentioned some aid coming through now. Just how much? Is it sufficient for the people?
Well, most of the villagers, including the administrator of the village, told me that the last time they received any kind of aid was from USAID, and they focused on the IDPs, the people that came from outside of the villages that were in a bad situation in terms of not getting any kind of support. But the whole village, it seems, are in need of some kind of support. This is perhaps something that many of us are reminded of, the 1984 famine, where millions of Ethiopians, especially in this region, were affected. And to people that are older, is really a reminder of what Ethiopia went through. And even the president of the Tigray region has said this is something that's comparable to the 1984-85 famine. So the region is really, suffering, and you can tell as soon as you arrive just outside of the capital, Mekelle.
Just on that point, as you mentioned, the Tigray authorities saying the situation is approaching a famine. Meanwhile, the government in Addis is saying this is exaggerated. We're seeing two sides, even though they signed a deal to end the war, we see them giving completely conflicting information about what's going on. Does that mean they are still very much at odds, even though the fighting has stopped?
Well, the Ethiopian government has been saying that they're supporting the region, they're giving support, aid to the region. But I can only tell you from what I've seen, I'm seeing people that are really struggling, people that are really facing the famine that we're beginning to see, not just in Tigray, but in all regions of this country. People are really, really suffering, and the government has acknowledged that it needs support, but they've said it's nothing like a famine of 1984. I think that's where the differences between the regional government and the federal government is. But from what we've seen is more medias are arriving in Tigray. Many people are starving. You can see it, again, even in the capital. So again, I can only tell you from what I've seen, but many people are suffering, and famine seems to be coming back to this country once again.